Aunt Patty's on the square. Parke County's oldest antique mall, with 22 years on the southeast corner of the square. We have 25 dealers who take great pride in stocking and maintaining their booths. In 7,500 square feet, you can find almost everything from the smallest penknife to great jewelry, vintage coins, sports cards, dishes like Grandma had, all the way to a large piece of furniture. We're open 7 days a week. Our hours are Monday through Saturday, 10 to 5, and Sunday, noon to 5.
Okay, call to order. Department head comments. Lydia, you're our only department head, so.
I'm here at JB's behest or request or whatever.
You got questions on that emergency preparedness grant? That state grant comes down?
It's actually federal through the state, yes.
Okay. What do we do with that?
Well, right now it's being used as salary. It can be used for preparedness.
Salary
for me as the preparedness person. It can be used to buy a trailer, which we have. It can be used to buy PPE. It can be used to buy a phone, a radio, all of which we have. I discuss it, the health officer signs the contract, the health board's aware of it. There'll be a new contract. The grant period runs July 1 through June 30th, so we've got a board meeting scheduled. We'll have a discussion.
I guess my problem is the extra salary. I mean, I don't understand. Do we need more help down there?
I'm doing it, so I don't think so.
Well, is that part of the other job? Or, my question is, are we double dipping?
No.
And I've had several people ask me, said, how's come, that salary, when you put the two together, is way higher than most, way higher. And I've had some people a little upset about it. And they say, where are we getting paid out of two separate, how are you getting two checks out of the same government entity?
Well, most other counties, and all of the counties in the district, what they do is they appropriate it. Some appropriate all of it, some appropriate a portion of it, and it's paid out every 2 weeks. It's just a part of their salary. Some of the other counties in District 7 have a preparedness person only. Some of them have other jobs like I do. It's done differently in each county, but in all counties, most of them have administrators, so what they do is they put it into their salary ordinance, send it to the council appropriates it, and it's just paid out every 2 weeks.
As an additional salary to the other job. Well, like I say, I've had several complaints and I brought it up, but it keeps coming up, why are you getting two salaries for one job?
Well, I'm not doing one job.
Well, then we need two people then. Is that what?
I'm not requesting that, no. Number one, I don't know why it's my job to care if other people are upset. I'm doing the job, I'm doing the work, I've worked really hard. I'm still working really hard.
So, does that take all the time?
No, it does not.
Well, like I say, I've had a lot of complaints and people brought some questions that, and you and I talked on the phone the other morning.
They're welcome to call me, I'll be happy to explain it. Other people work other jobs to make additional money.
Yeah,
Police officers take time off.
But we're getting two county salaries to one person.
No, it is not a county salary. Everybody pays into the pot, but it's not a penny of county money.
Well, grant money's tax money.
It's tax money, but
And
I said we all pay in, but it's not coming out of Parke County's budget.
And you and I were talking on the phone the other day, you said it was appropriated, and it wasn't. It never was.
It was appropriated.
It's not appropriated.
It's not appropriated, it's not part of this budget, so you've been paid for something that was not appropriated.
I sent Roy the information at budget hearing, he said he needed it to be appropriated, so I sent it to him.
But it was never.
It never passed. It didn't pass. It didn't appropriate it.
You did send it. You're absolutely right. We got it. It was put in there. It was not passed by the council.
So another question, and I don't know, and this I may have dreamed this. Wasn't it one time the nurse, didn't you and the nurse position split that?
Yes.
But that changed.
That changed when the nurses changed and they didn't want to be a part of it. I had somebody that helped me for a while in the grant period 2019 and 20. The state was late in getting contracts filled out, late in getting stuff paid, and so we hadn't been paid from July up until October. So the person helping me said, I'm not doing the work if I'm not getting paid. So I was doing all the work, and then when COVID started in 20 and he still hadn't been doing anything, he finally came in. He'd been paid twice. He came in and said, it's not really fair that I'm getting paid and I'm not doing anything. So that's when it switched.
Well, I thought that, I couldn't remember, it's been a while ago. So is the nurse, so what is the nurse status in it? Do we have
She's a nurse practitioner. She started last Wednesday.
and is this through the contract or
It's through,
something?
it's called a COAG grant.
What's that mean?
It started out as a school liaison position when
We talked about that.
COVID was
yeah.
still hot and
Right.
heavy. It has continued to transition. Basically, what she has to do now is reach out to the schools, which she has. Do you want help with your regular vaccine clinics? Do you want help with your vision testing? We're available. We've got testing available. We've got vaccines available. Do you need me to help you with anything? Audra Long has said, we're good. She hasn't heard back from Southwest Park. That meets the grant deliverable. That's the other thing about my grant. My grant is a deliverable based. I meet the deliverables and then I can invoice. And I've got a district and a regional director. We're part of District 7. These other grants, I don't get a penny out of those. That would be double dipping, so I don't get a penny out of those. The nurse will be here Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays for 25 hours, and then Union Hospital has her there for 15 hours, and they pay her benefits and her retirement and everything else.
Yeah, this is, the nurse is not technically a county employee.
She
now,
is not,
works
no,
for
she is a
right?
Union Hospital employee.
So back, you mentioned the deliverables. Could you cite some examples of what in your grant position, what your deliverables are?
Well, obviously, operating clinics is called a point of dispensing, so this has been a full-scale exercise. We do those periodically. We do training and exercise plans, emergency operation plans. I'm in the middle of doing an after-action report. We have to do so many courses and different things. So I think this year there were 15 deliverables.
And all of this doesn't interfere with your
No, I
county
mean-
job of being a sanitarian and doing
I'm
those
busy, I'm a
things.
busy woman,
Well, I
yeah.
was gonna say, by the time you do food inspections and sanitarian type inspections, why, I'm surprised there's enough hours in the day, quite honestly. But
And I mean, sometimes I do the things at home, because I'm making additional money, so I'm gonna do what I have to do. But I certainly don't count it as comp time either.
Okay.
Well, on the clinics, I mean, if we're gonna use it for salary, I think Chris and Julie ought to have a chunk of it, because they ran the clinics.
They're not allowed to from that fund. They were paid out of the vaccine fund. Chris did not ever report any hours. Julie was paid when she wasn't on county time.
Yeah. I think we better take a good long look at budget time, because I just, like I said, I've had too many people complain too many times. And I know you're not very happy with me right now, but it's, they look at the salary on that office and 2 checks going in, and when it's above an elected official who's gone out and done all that, they're not very happy.
Well, they're welcome to shadow me and see what I do on a daily basis.
They may take help on that.
That'd be great.
Okay, then we'll
move on.
try to
Could I
figure it
just
out.
add, I mean, in all honesty, I send it to the commissioners. It's a federal grant. The health officer and the health board make the decision whether to take it. It's been being taken since at least 2009 that I know of. It may have been before that. The health officer makes the recommendation and we send it to the commissioners, and that's what I do, and they sign to approve it.
Okay, we'll take a look at it and we'll think it over, so
Move on.
we'll move on. Thank you. Okay,
Appreciate you coming.
approval of minutes. And these are the ones from
Those will
April.
be on your next, those are tabled for next time.
Oh, next time, all right, I'm sorry, I thought we were going ahead and going to do it. All right, we'll move on.
So next over.
Additional appropriations.
All right, we've got several here. The cumulative bridge one was brought last meeting for the log jam removal on 3 bridges that Randy brought up. If you recall, reported that was $35,350, so that one's done there. The 4 from the ARC fund are for the various projects that the commissioners have approved. The courthouse one, they're separated out so that at least for a little bit of an ease of keeping track of them. The courthouse one would be for the courthouse projects that they have approved with Steckley. The jail one is for the jail contracts, the jail projects that are approved with Steckley. At this point, that does not count anything to do with the siding, stucco, metal, whatever happens there. The service contracts is the fee to Steckley plus the additional fee for determining what to do about the exterior of the building. That is included in there. And the ambulance one is the difference between the insurance settlement and the purchase of the ambulance that we talked about in here last month.
Before you appropriate those, one of those, when we approved the commission meeting last time, has a 10,000 increase. It was done a year ago, the first bids came in a year ago. So there's a 10,000 increase on one of those, but we knew that was coming because he told us when it first came. He thought it'd be 20, but it's 10. I have a message here to him, but I've not heard back which one that is.
Well, those numbers are the ones you gave me, so.
Yeah, that's what we got. And then last meeting, we had to approve the increase on the other, but that had been a year since you got that first bid.
Okay. Then the EMS training institution one is to appropriate the funds in that account. That's the it's to pay for our on-site EMS training deal. Julie started with a grant, if you recall. There is $8,000 in there, so it's being appropriated.
Any questions on those?
I can probably tell you if you give me just a moment before you.
Yeah, I was gonna come back to you, I couldn't even see you over there.
I mean, before you appropriate those,
Uh-huh.
to change it, I can probably tell you which one's 10,000 more if that makes sense.
Well, we have to
We can't
advertise,
go on.
advertise it, so we'll have to advertise
okay.
an
You
additional.
know, it's gotta be left alone or lower.
We'll just do this amount and then we can come back and we can advertise additional, but I can't, it's too late to change it in the meeting because it's been advertised.
Okay,
But it's not a problem, all you need to do is just tell us
Right,
and
yeah.
we'll do it. So why don't we go ahead and vote on these and then I'll go back to Chris.
Motion to approve additional appropriations.
Second.
Motion been made, second, approve the additionals, all in favor?
Aye.
Chris? Sorry.
Looking for the council's approval for a grant. This grant is the state Homeland Security Program grant. We do it not every year, but I think we've done it 3 times, 4 times here in the last 5 years. And so what I'm looking at doing is using that $150,000 to buy a new console for the dispatch. The console is, you looked up there, didn't you? The console is
normal for me.
Console
glancing up
is,
there.
it's a bank of radios that the dispatchers use to communicate with the radios that all the public safety people have. The ones we currently have are 15 years, at least 15 years old, and I can't get spare parts for them anymore. They run on Windows XP, and so the computers that are running those things pretty much have been on 24/7 for 15 years, and they're still working. But if they die at any point, we'll start having problems. I started talking to vendors to get some estimates and proposals. They're all over the place on prices between $200,000 up to $500,000. And so what this would entail is that we'd have to use other money to pay anything above that $150,000 if the state were to give it. I would recommend that we would take that money out of the 1222 account, the dispatch money. We have over $300,000 in that account.
That's the that's the.
That's the 911 account, yeah.
I just, for clarity, that's.
So I wanted to bring this up to you this before I apply for this grant, so that you know that it would entail an additional appropriation in June for whatever the difference is above that $150,000.
You did mention, when you and I spoke earlier about the park situation, it's not only this thing runs all the time, but parks are becoming a real issue to try to, and it was running on Windows, I think you told me XP.
Yes. So the system that we have, it's the Motorola MCS 5500. They stopped making those, stopped supporting them probably over 10 years ago. They've moved on to another one. They discontinued making that, and they've moved on to another one. And so I can't, when you go on eBay and you go some of these other places, I don't want to start doing that to get spare parts, because they're different versions and they don't line up well. And so I think it's appropriate to get a new one after 15 years of service, and we're looking for grants to kind of defray that cost.
What about taking the difference out of ARP?
Don't know. Have to take it to them, see.
Something to think about.
Well, the only thing I would say that, and I'm fine with exploring that, and that's kind of see what the group and the commissioners think on that, but, these 911 funds are pretty dedicated, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris.
Yes.
I mean, if, we have that money, you may wanna use it rather than ARP, when ARP is much more fluid than these 911 funds, unless I'm speaking
No,
out of turn.
that's, you can only spend the 911 funds on like stuff that's attached to the 911 system, and it's.
Right. Well, that's what I was well, and maybe we wanna think, we can think, maybe we might think about a combination of funds. I don't know, I don't really care, but I'm just saying that, maybe we should use the 911 funds rather than.
Well, I don't have a problem doing some of it. We do ride that fund relatively hard as we can. We push the ragged edge, and all the salary increases come out of there. The overtime for these dispatchers coming out of there. We don't really know what that's going to end up amounting to. Now, we do have a little more money in it than we usually do, which is evidently good. Somehow the revenue's been better than we expected, which is good.
So what's the balance, I think?
326,000, 327,000.
So maybe a combination of.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that, we shouldn't use, you're right, it is certainly,
Well, we don't want to deplete the fund, and I'm not
No.
suggesting that we deplete it, but I don't know that we need 350,000 balance in there either. We'll work it out, Chris, that's for us to argue out, so we'll work it out.
Get the stuff on.
All right.
When's the deadline for the grant application?
The 1st of June. They haven't issued their notice of fund. They haven't issued the paperwork that you started, but the 1st of June is when it needs to be in.
And
So you just need excuse me, go ahead.
Yeah, just part of the county policies, like your approval, commissioner's approval, then I'll apply for it, and then we'll wait for the state.
what's the anticipated remaining lifespan on the system that's currently here?
I'd be lying to you if I knew.
Tomorrow.
I mean, it's
Depends on when it breaks.
we had a board break, and we had a spare board in the system that we just replaced, but that isn't there. So I couldn't, we're not that, our life cycle management isn't that well.
it certainly sounds like it's on.
Let's say we get the
Yeah,
grant if you
so we
can.
need to give him approval to seek the grant thing, and then we'll argue out the funding then at another time. So,
Motion approved.
Second.
motion been made and seconded, grant Chris the permission to seek the grant. All fair?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jim, you're on.
Not much, I don't think, from Mark. I just got back yesterday. I've not heard of anything that's in the mix. Other than that, we'll make you aware of that 10K increase on one of those projects. And I don't recall at this time which one it is. I haven't heard back from
Well, that's fine.
Maggie this morning, but I'll let you know which one that is. We did approve the increase last week, but I remember which one it was to. But as not, as Dan said, and then we were aware that would probably be, we thought it'd be more than 10, but it's not. Things have changed obviously in the last year with price of those stuff, so.
Oh, yeah.
We have agreed to those contracts, so they're locked in all but that one, that one is agreed to now, so there should be no changes going forward.
So the others were locked in, but just not that one, was that?
Well, I haven't had an increase in that they accepted whatever it was they proposed before, the other company did not, they said, you know, it's been years, so. So what, must have been the first one that he did, but we'll be signing contracts, Monday.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, we'll move on to transfers then.
Chris had one in here for service contracts to equipment and, emergency planning right to know, $1,500. And then the sex and violent offender ran to the sheriff's department and travel to equipment in the amount of $1,500.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the transfers, all in favor?
Aye.
There are no reappropriations, pay the jury.
Make a motion, pay the jury. Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the jury pay, all in favor?
Aye.
No reduction in funds, redevelopment,
Did not meet.
did not meet, planning and zone,
We met, but there was no business.
courthouse security did not meet. Solid waste, did you do anything?
Nope.
No? Okay.
I might tell you, the orthopedics section of the insurance that we've negotiated with Sutton is in effect, and JV is using it right now. So far, he's pleased with it, still feeling good about things.
Consult is next Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, they're extremely easy to work with.
If you recall how that works, that's outside of our insurance. County still pays, of course, but the county pays because we're self-insured. No cost to the employee, actually $1,500 stipend, actually, I think is what the limit is on that. So you'll get that, you won't have any out-of-pocket cost on that, and we'll still save several $1,000s by doing it that way.
They're, so Lexi's sure easy to get on. I'll let you know Monday when I get back.
Yeah, we do need to know.
Takes a lot of maintenance for you.
Been a lot of abuse over the years.
Oh, is that one?
Yes, there is.
Speaking of old parts and not replaceable.
Yeah, yeah, at least he's got something we can fix. Or they
This
can
time.
fix. Yeah. Laura, have you had a chance to contact the two former elected officials about them paying back their money? That would be
Nope, I haven't
Stan
done
Ball
that
and
yet. I'll
the
get that.
former clerk. If
We'll
you
get
could
that done next week.
send them a letter or something advising them that they'll have to do that, if you don't mind.
I can do that next week.
Okay. All right, do you want, what do you want to do about the health thing, or do you want to just, or do you want to do nothing about the health?
Well, I'll tell you.
So, we've paid her up to, am I correct, Laura, that she's been being paid, she has been paid out of that, even though there was no appropriation, or she's not been paid?
Liddy's,
Mhm.
yeah, she's been paid out of that. That's every
So-
quarter.
It's
Most,
absolutely-
all the other
if
counties
you're
are
going
doing it
Hendricks.
on a bi-weekly basis. And we've-
Well, the only thing is, there was no appropriation, that's the hit, it's not that you're paying wrong, it's just that it's being paid.
How do you choose to pay?
What do we need to
We're
do to
more
fix
concerned,
it?
Well, I mean, do you want to fix it? I mean, we can fix it by going back, I guess, in the arrears, or
Well, you can fix it by doing an additional
we
appropriation.
can do an additional. It sounds like the grant comes to what you say till the end of June.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
What I would suggest is we fix it till the end of
It's
June,
outside of our interest.
and then
So what do
we
we?
reevaluate.
Appropriating 9170.
But see, it was never appropriated.
We never
in the
appropriated
budget. It was never in the budget.
Thought we did.
No, because the council was not,
It's never been
they
appropriated.
never appropriated it. So we could fix it for up to the end of June, and then we could have, I guess, have more discussion about how we're gonna handle it then, or whatever. I'm just thinking
Yeah,
out loud here.
I don't know.
I'm not saying we have to do it, I'm just trying to get some kind of consensus of what you wanna do, or do nothing.
Do we have any additional information on that grant as far as, I mean, more than what she gives, a detailed synopsis, if you will,
I
of
don't-
everything
That was the
that,
first I really knew even what she did, quite honestly, was
Well-
right there.
If she's doing that much, then how in the hell she find time to do her other job? I mean, it sounds like we got 2 jobs, 2 paychecks, and like I said, I had a lot of complaints, and quite frankly, on the other job, there's some complaints there that we don't get it done because we're doing this. And,
What do we need to do, hire another employee or what?
well, if, you know, if there's this much work to be done, that we're justifying that kind of salary, then maybe we need two people.
Of course, it worked pretty well, and that's why I asked her when we had our nurse that was here part-time, why, then that nurse got part of that and did part of that work, and I think it worked then, but then, and I kinda remembered that after she said it, that whoever the nurse was at the time didn't wanna be involved with it or didn't wanna do it, and so it was basically, I guess, moved over to Liddy's position. I don't know what the answer is particularly. It does concern me a little bit that whether or not we're getting all of our sanitarian and our food inspector jobs done.
Over and over.
But I'm not in a position to be able to tell that or know that.
But
She's got a board, doesn't she, that she,
Yeah, the board is supposed to be overseeing
Rubber stamp.
that,
But the grant is
if
for
they-
emergency preparedness, correct?
Yes.
Does that really even belong in the health department? I suppose there'd be a health emergency, I
That's-
get that. Is it a health emergency?
But that's kind of where my mind's at. If it's an emergency preparedness grant, do we not have a emergency management director?
It's always been in that department. Do you know anything about this,
No.
Commissioner Meese?
Now, I don't know whether it's generated from, like you see, the health department generating that grant for health department purposes and designating that portion as for emergency preparedness within the health department, in which case, to me, county emergency management would have nothing to do with it. It just depends who's giving the dollars, where it comes from.
Well, she
I'm
said
not
it was a federal.
I'm not entirely so certain that this isn't distributed down through the state, from the feds to the state Department of Health and then the local.
So
health
that's why it goes
departments, which
to
is why
health.
it's
Yes,
goes
okay.
there.
I
Well, that
suspect,
could be.
and I expect it's intended to be used in the health department.
Probably, well then, there you
And I
go.
checked, I sent
There
an
you go.
email out to the surrounding counties. They do it exactly the same way Parke County's doing it right
Yeah,
now.
I think.
But pay somebody with it, right?
They're
Or pay
paying
people
their-
with it or
yeah.
whatever, yeah.
So they're using it for salary then?
Yeah,
basically.
they're,
And which
that's
that's-
already in the health department, they're paying them that additional salary.
But we only have basically one in the health department, so,
We got Putnam County, we got the Owen County,
like I say,
we
that,
got Clay County.
And that doesn't mean you couldn't
And
find
they're
a way.
doing- and they're doing
to
the
get-
same
Sullivan
thing
County's
as-
doing it also.
when you say doing it, you mean the director is doing both?
Or an administrator
really?
or something.
Okay.
Well, it's
So that's
probably
what's going on in all the counties.
Yeah, and all the other ones. 'cause
And
they
so that,
surround
and all of
county
them have
emails, all of
boards,
them.
is that correct?
They all have a health board, yeah.
So I
Of
have,
course, more of them have, they're able to distribute that out. We have one person, but is that all we have in the health? Well, plus the part-time
The
nurse, it's
registrar.
not really,
No,
well, the
yeah,
registrar.
Yeah, registrar in office, yeah.
Is there a reason why the
Okay.
registrar couldn't do part of that?
I don't think,
Well,
Probably not.
We're
well,
probably busy all day, I suspect. But I can't answer those questions, I don't know. I know that like most grants, there's ways to find a way around the intent of the grant and spend it elsewhere, but I don't think we should be looking at ways to get around that grant and use it somewhere else if that's what it was intended for, but.
Well, we're
I
not,
don't
I don't
think
think we're
anybody
trying to
is.
do that. I think we're just wondering whether or not that another person should be paid rather than the job that she's supposed to be doing.
Yeah, and if you could see, and like Jamie's talking, if you could see that she's not doing her other job, or it is impacting her other job, then we should make the changes, but I think as long as she's doing everything, then I'm okay with
Yeah.
where it is. It's not a matter of the dollars, it's whether you get the job done or not.
I think I would like to see the point of origin on the grant and, figure out what the terms of the grant are. I think it might make our decision a little bit
Well, and I think the other
easier.
thing I'd like to see, what are we getting for the money? What are we getting out of this grant? I mean, basically, if it hadn't been for the EMS people, we wouldn't have had any vaccination clinics, it would appear to me. So,
Yeah.
I think
You are
that's pretty
correct.
clear, I think the health department was opposed to it, in fact, until the commissioners said we're gonna have that, and so that's when it really began
you
working.
know, and that concerns me a little bit when she sat right there and said that that was part of this.
Correct.
It is now,
Well, I
because
tell you, they didn't-
because they've
they
been
didn't.
regular to do it, we are gonna have clinics.
Yeah, well, I know, and that's good. I'm glad you did that.
Parke
it is good.
Walters
Right,
has
you did
always
that.
got paid like that too.
What's that?
You go back to when Mark,
how it's been done in the past doesn't, I can care less.
she always got,
Yeah, that's,
Well, they were splitting the nurse and
Yeah.
the nurse
Right.
and the split, and to me,
That's
that's probably where it really
Generally
needs
it's
to be.
split.
It's
Yeah.
split,
And
not.
and if you've got multiple people, contributing to that effort, then there's no
Right.
sense in only one individual being,
Yeah.
I mean,
It's-
I understand that, there may be stipulations on what this grant can be used for, but I mean, it sounds like we're all pretty well in agreement. If multiple people are doing the same job or, you know, contributing to the same end result, then they should be compensated for those efforts.
And like I said, that, when's
It's
the
like
last time you saw a food inspection
vaccine for
report?
children, that's always been, Family Health and Health Center always got the vaccine for children. Parke County never did, because when I worked up there at the health department, I did the ordering and shipping for all the health departments, and I always wondered why Parke County was never listed on there, it was always
There you
Family
go.
Health and
Well,
Health Center.
others have wondered that too, why that we weren't doing that.
But, well, when's the last time you saw a food inspection report?
Well, I haven't seen any, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. I don't know, I can't answer that. So, well, anyway,
Moving on.
Yeah,
I
so,
think
so what are
that-
you gonna do to fix it?
Okay, so
What are you gonna
we
do?
wanna fix it to the end of June, and then we'll rehash this some more, or,
Well, we're coming August, or budget.
cause that would fix it up to then.
Well, it'll fix it through the end of the fiscal year for the state, which is what you really probably need to
Yep.
do. I mean, we don't really need to leave this thing being spent against, with no appropriation,
Yep.
so. We
So,
probably ought to at least do that, and that gives some time to figure out what's
We're
gonna
already
happen
doing it.
afterwards, right?
I think that would be a good
So,
thing. I think that would help clear the
Air.
air, some sort of speak. So I need to advertise an additional to do that.
yeah,
And we can act
you wanna
on it.
write that up? I don't really, you know what you've paid her and what,
I know how much the grant's on.
Well, we just wanna fix it till the end of June.
yeah, the
Right,
grant,
that's all you
Yeah.
can.
but
Okay.
that grant, part of that would have applied to the last calendar year, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, because the
Right.
state is not.
Yeah, they're on a
same as
fiscal
county.
year,
Yeah.
right?
So
So,
she's gonna have to go back further than this.
no,
'Cause what we
we're not gonna fix
appropriated-
last year's, right?
Well, we appropriated last year, didn't we?
I don't know if we ever did or not.
I'll have to go check it all out and see what we.
Basically, you're gonna
Fix it
need
from
to write it
January
for,
on,
the second half, for half of the area, right? There you go.
But I
6 months, I
thought
guess.
we appropriated last,
We did not appropriate 21, or 22. It's even in the budget status report, zero. I know we submitted it in the zeros.
So we'll fix that and then we'll do it.
We'll fix it through June and then,
next week.
Every county's.
yeah, that's a good point, isn't it?
Okay, is there anything else?
Every county's boards actually.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
See you.